Do you really think you can scare us? Kane's voice cut through the sterile hum of the alien command deck. His broad shoulders leaned casually against the console, one hand gripping the edge, the other tapping a scarred tablet as though he owned the entire bridge. The alien commander, tall, faceless, and cloaked in iridescent armor, paused, its multifaceted eyes flickering like a storm over a distant planet. "You do not understand. Humans are fragile," it hissed, a voice like shards of broken glass scraping the air. "We will reduce you to dust," Kane smirked, eyes glinting with something primal. "Dust? That's cute." "You clearly never met us up close." A warning klaxon screamed through the hull, a harsh, urgent cry that made the floor vibrate beneath their boots. Red lights bathed the room in ominous heat, reflecting off polished metal and alien plating alike. Outside, the void shimmered with dozens of alien vessels, sleek, calculating, and lethal, but lacking imagination. They were precise, predictable, and dangerously arrogant. Mara, sharp-eyed navigator and Kane's closest ally, twirled a knife between her fingers, the edge catching the crimson light. Her jaw was set, lips pressed into a thin line of defiance. She glanced at the viewport, then back at Kane. "Dominance? Or chaos? Both," Kane said, his voice low, almost a whisper, carrying a weight no alien algorithm could measure. Sometimes chaos wins. Inside him, adrenaline mingled with something older, the fierce human instinct to survive, to improvise, to dominate. Around him, the crew shared the same storm of anticipation, fear, and stubborn pride. These humans were not just ready for battle. They thrived on unpredictability, a trait no alien could compute. The alien commander's mandibles twitched, a subtle ripple of unease. Its species prided itself on control, on precision, on cold, logical conquest. But humans? Humans drew power from unpredictability. They fought with fire in their veins and storm in their minds. This was a variable the aliens had ignored. "Countdown to breach, 90 seconds. The ship's automated voice droned, clinical, detached. Kane stretched, muscles coiled like springs, a grin tugging at his lips. Perfect. Let's show them why humans don't just survive, they dominate. Mara's eyes sparkled with quiet amusement. "Dominate or survive in spectacular mess?" "Why not both?" Kane replied, his grin widening as he scanned his crew. Each human exuded a subtle swagger, an almost tangible aura of defiance. Fear, yes, but more than fear was confidence honed by centuries of struggle and survival. The aliens could calculate trajectories and energy outputs, but they could not measure spirit. The first breach attempt slammed into the hull with a hiss of plasma, throwing the humans across consoles and bulkheads. Sparks danced in the air like fireflies in a storm. The alarm screamed in unison, creating a chaotic symphony. Kane laughed, a deep, fearless sound that reverberated across the deck. "Finally," he shouted, gripping a nearby railing as the ship rocked. "The fun begins." Mara vaulted over a console, slashing a control panel with her knife to redirect power to the shields. A soft hum, and the alien energy dissipated harmlessly against reinforced human engineering. "See?" Kane said, almost conversationally to the alien commander. "Never underestimate humans." The alien fleet, calculated and precise, hesitated outside. Predictions collapsed. Algorithms failed. Every human maneuver defied expectation, bending the rules of engagement into something fluid, improvisational, alive in that moment. A simple truth hit the alien commander. Humans were storms, not predictable particles. They were fire, not fragile matter. They were wrath incarnate. And today that wrath would have a name. Kane. The countdown ticked on. 30 seconds. The tension became tangible, almost a living entity, coiling tighter with each pulse. Yet in the chaos, humans moved with the grace of predators, quick, adaptable, fearless. Their weapons were clever, their minds sharper than alien tech, and their spirits unbreakable. A soft beep indicated a system reroute. Mara's fingers danced over the controls, redirecting power, creating traps within the ship's defenses that no alien could anticipate. Another strike hit the hull. Sparks, smoke, and the smell of ozone filled the deck, but the humans weren't panicking. They were performing, improvising, turning danger into opportunity. Kane's gaze locked on the alien commander. "You're learning the hard way," he said, voice low but filled with certainty. "Humans aren't fragile. We survive, we adapt, and we fight back when you think you've got us." Outside, the alien fleet's hesitation grew. They could see the humans' audacity but not understand it. Predictable targets were easy to crush, but humans were a riddle, wrapped in defiance and raw instinct. The breach countdown reached the final seconds. 5, 4, 3. The humans didn't flinch. They were ready, unbowed, prepared to turn fear into strength. Because one truth burned in every human heart: they endure. They resist, and they never ever surrender. The hull groaned like an injured beast. Sparks rained over consoles, smoke curling in lazy streams, and the smell of scorched metal filled the air. Kane rolled with the impact, muscles absorbing the jolt, eyes scanning for opportunity. Mara ducked behind a console, knife still in hand, her fingers already dancing across the emergency control panel. "Power reroute to shields complete," she shouted over the alarms. "They hit like predators, but they don't know humans improvise." Kane grinned, the chaos around him sharpening his mind. "Improvise, dominate, survive. Let's remind them why they underestimated us." Outside, the alien fleet hesitated again. Their ships, precise and lethal, hovered in formation, waiting for the humans to falter. But the humans never faltered. They moved like a single organism. Instincts tuned by centuries of struggle and danger, each member anticipating the other's moves, each action layered with cunning and daring. "Engineering's reporting structural weakness in Sector 3, Mara called out. "They're going for a hull breach." Kane's jaw tightened. "Sector 3 is where we set the trap." He shot a glance at his crew. "Remember the drills. Remember every time we survived the impossible. Now do what comes naturally." The ship lurched violently, throwing a crate across the floor. Sparks scattered and a small fire ignited near a console. Kane grabbed the nearest extinguisher, hosing down the flames without breaking stride. Mara activated the emergency turrets, their barrels swinging toward the approaching alien projectiles. A deep hum resonated through the hull as the energy shields flared, absorbing impact after impact. The aliens recoiled. Each strike they launched was met with something unexpected. A shield rerouted, a turret angled with precision, a sudden maneuver that seemed reckless yet worked perfectly. Their algorithms could not adapt. They had underestimated humans, wild, stubborn, ingenious humans who refused to play by their rules. "Commander Kane," whispered Lyra, the ship's communications officer, her voice tense but determined. "They're scanning for weak points. They're trying to predict our next move." "Let them try," Kane said, flexing his fingers. "Prediction is for machines. Humans, we don't predict. We react, we improvise, we win." A shadow flickered across the viewport, a massive alien assault vessel weaving through the void. Its energy cannons glowed like molten veins, ready to tear the ship apart. Kane leaned close to the glass, muscles tensed, eyes sharp. "They think fear will stop us. They're wrong. Always wrong." He turned to Mara. "Phase 1. Her nod was slight but fierce. She slammed a fist into a control panel. The ship shuddered as hidden thrusters activated, swinging them toward the alien ship in a sudden, unpredictable maneuver. Turrets fired in a synchronized dance, intercepting incoming projectiles. The aliens' calculated strategies faltered as humans danced on the edge of chaos. "Humans are reckless," the alien commander hissed, its faceless form trembling slightly under the strain of failed calculations. "Fragile yet dangerous." Kane's grin widened. "Fragile?" he muttered under his breath. "Watch this." Another jolt shook the ship. Smoke filled the deck. Mara barked out orders with surgical precision, directing crew members to reinforce weakened sections. They moved with fluid coordination, fear tempered by instinct, adrenaline sharpening their minds. Kane watched them, awe mixed with pride. Every human on this ship was a weapon, and a puzzle the aliens couldn't solve. "Energy shields at 30%, Lyra warned, voice tight. "Hull integrity compromised." "Good," Kane said calmly. "Pressure reveals character. Let's see whose breaks first, the humans or the aliens." Outside, the alien fleet hesitated. Their attacks slowed, their predictions faltering. Kane could see the tension radiating through the alien command ship, calculations failing in real time. Humans thrived in chaos, yet even he knew the danger was real. One mistake, one misstep, and the hull could rupture. But the humans didn't dwell on fear. They adapted, improvised, and defied death with a swagger that made the impossible seem inevitable. A shrill alarm tore through the deck. Mara's hands flew across controls, diverting power, sealing off breached sections. Kane grabbed a rail as the ship lurched, and for a moment the chaos felt alive, a coiled beast testing their limits. Then he laughed, It was a deep, resonant sound unbroken by fear. They still don't get it. Humans fight with more than weapons. We fight with brains, guts, and sheer audacity. Mara smiled, grim and fierce, and maybe a little madness. Exactly, Kane said, eyes scanning the viewport. Now phase 2. Let's make them regret underestimating us. The humans braced for what was coming. Outside, the alien fleet flinched, sensing the tide shifting, but they couldn't predict the full force of human ingenuity. And that force was about to strike. The alien assault tore at the hull like claws against stone. Sparks rained from the ceiling, twisting in the air, and the deck shuddered under the relentless energy blasts. Yet in the middle of it, Kane moved with a terrifying calm. Every step was measured, every glance precise, like a predator studying its prey. Sector 7 compromised, Lyra called, voice tense but steady. Hull breach imminent, Kane gritted his teeth. Then we seal it now. Mara dashed past him, muscles taut, hair whipping across her face. Her knife slashed at wires, sparking miniature arcs of electricity that would have terrified any ordinary human. But they weren't ordinary. They were human, resilient, audacious, alive. Hull doors sealed, she announced, sweat glistening on her brow. But they're not giving up. Outside, the alien commander's fleet pulsed with light, a rhythm meant to intimidate. Calculated, controlled, unyielding. Yet every strike it sent was met with a human counter. A tactic no simulation could predict. Turrets swiveled, shields flared, and small kinetic traps deployed with precision that made the aliens falter. The commander hissed, mandibles clicking. They cannot survive, they are imperfect. Kane's grin widened. Imperfect? Maybe, but that imperfection, it's terrifying to you, isn't it? In the heart of the ship, the humans were a whirlwind of chaos and order. Each crew member moved with purpose, instincts sharpened by years of survival on worlds that didn't care if they lived or died. The aliens had weapons, numbers, and precision. Humans had unpredictability, audacity, and the ability to turn fear into strength. Pressure's building, Lyra warned. We have 5 minutes before the hull in Sector 4 collapses entirely. Kane nodded. 5 minutes is plenty of time. We adapt, we improvise, we fight. He glanced at Mara, who had just rerouted power to the shield generators, her face illuminated by the glow of the consoles. Ready for the impossible? Always, she replied, a small grin forming despite the smoke and chaos. The alien fleet pressed harder, sending a concentrated barrage toward the human ship. Energy beams scorched the hull, the vibrations shaking the floor beneath their feet. Sparks exploded around them, but humans thrived in chaos. They moved like dancers in a storm, each step deliberate, each breath a challenge to death itself. Kane planted his fists on the console, calculating the angles, the timing, the tiniest openings in the alien assault. We're not just surviving, he said, voice low but charged with conviction. We're teaching them. Every hit they land only shows us what we can outsmart next. Mara's knife flashed in the smoke, cutting wires, redirecting energy flows. She barked orders, each one executed flawlessly by the crew. Lyra monitored alien signals, translating their intent into a puzzle the humans could solve mid-flight. Kane smiled. See? Their thinking is rigid. Ours? Fluid, unstoppable. A massive strike rocked the ship, sending Kane sprawling across the deck. Pain flared, but he laughed, a raw, fearless sound. You call that victory? He shouted over the alarms. Try again! Outside, the alien commander's calculation algorithms were failing. Every strategy collapsed under the humans' improvised tactics. Predictable weapons met unpredictable minds. Brutal logic faced chaotic genius. And the humans were laughing, literally laughing at the apparent danger. Commander Kane, Lyra said quietly, almost in awe. They're panicking. They've never seen this before. Our improvisations, our chaos, it's disrupting them. Good, Kane said, standing tall amidst the chaos. His muscles rippled under his uniform as he moved to the viewport, fists clenched. Disrupt them more. Let them learn the hard way. Humans don't break. We endure, we dominate, and we always come back stronger. The countdown to structural failure ticked closer, but the humans were beyond fear. They had embraced it, molded it into strategy, and weaponized it against their foe. Mara glanced at Kane, eyes fierce, sweat and soot streaking her face. Ready for the final act? Kane's grin was feral. Let's make them regret underestimating humanity. In the void outside, the alien fleet hesitated. Their meticulously calculated assault had stalled. Algorithms failed. Predictions crumbled. Humans were no longer just obstacles. They were a force, unpredictable and unstoppable. And for the first time, the alien commander understood the terrifying truth. Humans were not fragile. They were not predictable. They were storms, wrath, ingenuity incarnate. Inside the human ship, Kane and his crew prepared to turn chaos into triumph. Every strike, every maneuver, every defiant laugh was a declaration. Humanity did not surrender. Humanity did not fear. Humanity fought, and in fighting it conquered, not just space, but the hearts of every being who witnessed its wrath. The hull groaned again, lights flickering. Time was short. Danger was immediate. But Kane's eyes burned with certainty. Phase 3, he whispered. Let's show them what human wrath really is. The ship shook violently, metal screaming under stress. Sparks rained from the ceiling, cascading like fiery rain, and smoke filled the corridors in thick, choking waves. Yet Kane moved with the grace of a storm. Muscles coiled, eyes sharp, mind calculating angles, weaknesses, opportunities. Every movement was deliberate, every glance a challenge to death itself. Sector 4 integrity failing, Lyra shouted over the alarms, her fingers flying over the emergency console. We have less than 2 minutes before collapse. Kane didn't flinch. Then we adapt. Humans don't just survive. They turn the impossible into opportunity. Mara leaped over a broken console, knife flashing, sparks showering around her. Hull reinforcements deployed. Shields rerouted, but they're relentless. Relentless, Kane echoed, voice low but fierce, meat unpredictable. Outside the viewport, the alien fleet pulsed like a living entity, calculating, precise, lethal. Massive energy beams swept across space, aimed to crush the human ship. But the humans were fluid. They didn't just dodge, they countered. Micro-maneuvers redirected projectiles. Shields flared at perfect moments, traps detonated with surgical precision. The aliens were clever, but humans were smarter in ways no algorithm could anticipate. Commander Kane, Lyra said, voice tight. Their calculations are collapsing. Every strike we make is throwing them off balance. Kane's grin widened. Good, confuse them more. Let their panic become their weakness. Humans aren't just clever. We're unpredictable, stubborn, and relentless. The ship lurched again as a massive energy strike slammed against the reinforced hull. Sparks flew, consoles flickered, and the floor vibrated violently beneath them. Kane rolled, absorbing the shock, then leapt to his feet, surveying the crew. Every human moved with intention. Instinct sharpened to a razor edge. Fear was present, yes, but it was harnessed, molded into action, into cunning, into sheer audacity. Mara's eyes met Kane's. Ready for the final maneuver? Kane's grin was feral. Always. He activated the hidden thrusters, the ship twisting and spinning unpredictably. Alien beams cut through space, missing by inches. Automated turrets fired in unison, not at random, but with precise timing that turned chaos into strategy. Human ingenuity flowed through the ship like electricity, every crew member contributing instinctively. Yet as part of a seamless, unstoppable whole, the alien commander hissed, its faceless form trembling under the strain. Impossible. Humans. They defy logic. That's the point, Kane muttered, voice low, almost a growl. Logic is your weakness. Improvisation is ours. Lyra's fingers danced across the communication panel, intercepting alien signals, twisting them into traps. They're trying to isolate us, diverting power to the central core now. We might— Wait, no, they're vulnerable. Kane's eyes gleamed. Vulnerable? Then it's time to make them regret underestimating us. He barked orders and the crew moved as one. Shields reinforced, turrets redirected, and a calculated ruse sent the alien fleet into disarray. The humans exploited every weakness, every hesitation, every twitch of the alien algorithm. The void itself seemed to bend around their cunning. Mara activated the kinetic traps hidden throughout the hull. Explosions erupted outside, ricocheting from alien projectiles and scattering the fleet. Kane laughed, a deep, fearless sound. See? Chaos works in our favor. Smoke and sparks swirled, yet in the heart of the storm, Kane felt it. The surge of something older, something primal. Humans were never meant to bow, to break, to surrender. Every pulse of adrenaline, every spark of courage, every ounce of ingenuity was a testament to what humanity could do when cornered. The alien commander faltered, mandibles clicking, algorithms collapsing. Its fleet wavered, unsure, vulnerable, exposed. Kane could see it. The moment when fear replaced precision, panic replaced strategy. And humans, unpredictable and untamable, thrived in that moment. Phase 3 complete, Kane said, chest heaving slightly, a grin cutting across soot-streaked skin. Now we take control. Mara's lips curled into a fierce smile. They're panicking. Their fleet's in disarray. What next? Kane's eyes burned with defiance. Next, we remind the universe why humans don't just survive. We dominate, we endure. We fight back with everything we have, and they will never see it coming. Outside, the void shimmered with uncertainty. The alien fleet had underestimated humans, and that miscalculation was their undoing. The humans were no longer defending, they were asserting. Every movement, every tactic, every daring improvisation turned the tide. The ship groaned, hull straining, alarms still screaming. But the humans weren't afraid. They thrived in the chaos, their muscles coiled, minds sharp, hearts ablaze. Fear had become a weapon. Risk had become strategy. Humanity had become a storm. Kane clenched his fists, eyes sweeping the viewport. Time to show them the full force of human wrath. The alien fleet staggered. Predictable no more, their formations faltered, energy beams scattered, and precise strikes missed by inches. Kane's grin widened, muscles taut, mind calculating every angle. Chaos was no longer their enemy, it was their weapon. They can't anticipate this, Lyra said, voice trembling slightly but filled with awe. Every move we make, it breaks their algorithms. Kane's eyes scanned the viewport. Every flicker of light, every shift in alien formation feeding his instinct. Algorithms are rigid. Humans are fluid. That's why we win. Mara's hand rested briefly on his arm as she recalibrated the shields, her eyes hard, focused. Commander, if we push now, we can break their central command. But it's risky. One wrong move and Kane shook his head, his jaw tight. Risk is a luxury humans thrive on. One wrong move, maybe. But one perfect improvisation can topple an empire. The alien commander's voice hissed through the comm channels, distorted and sharp. You are unpredictable. Impossible. Exactly, Kane interrupted, slamming a fist against the console. Sparks flew, smoke rising around him, yet he stood unshaken. Impossible is just a challenge humans accept with a grin. Outside, the humans executed their maneuver. Hidden thrusters fired, spinning the ship in unpredictable arcs. Turrets rained fire, intercepting every beam the aliens sent, while the kinetic traps Mara had deployed detonated in perfect synchrony. The aliens faltered, ships colliding, energy fields collapsing, their control fracturing like glass under pressure. Sector 6 breached, Lyra shouted. Their flagship is exposed. We can hit the core. Kane's grin sharpened. Good. Time to remind them what humans do when cornered. We don't just survive, we dominate. Mara glanced at him, a faint, dark humor flickering in her eyes. And remind them that humans aren't afraid of chaos? Especially chaos, Kane said, voice low and confident. We thrive in it. We are it. The humans moved with synchronized precision born of instinct, experience, and unshakable confidence. Every crew member had a role, yet every role was fluid, adaptable, unpredictable. The aliens had numbers, weapons, and technology. Humans had audacity, ingenuity, and a spirit no laser or algorithm could ever calculate. Hull integrity is dropping, Lyra warned, her fingers flying across the controls. We need one final push or the ship won't hold. Kane's jaw tightened. He looked at Mara, then at the crew, every face lit by adrenaline and determination. Then we push. Full throttle. No hesitation. No second guessing. Human wrath isn't polite, it's decisive. The ship surged forward. Hidden thrusters fired in precise bursts, twisting and diving in impossible arcs. Turrets locked onto the alien flagship, firing concentrated energy bursts. Shields flared, absorbing enemy strikes, while Mara triggered the final kinetic traps. One by one, the alien vessels collided, shields overloaded, engines failing. Their coordination, their logic, their sense of superiority shattered under the raw force of human unpredictability. The alien commander shrieked in frustration, mandibles clattering. Its calculations were failing, its fleet scattered, its control slipping through its grasp like sand. Humans didn't just survive, they imposed themselves. They rewrote the rules, broke the patterns, turned panic into opportunity. Core exposed, Lyra shouted, breathless but exhilarated. We can finish this now. Kane's grin was feral. Then let's finish it. He and Mara worked together, diverting every ounce of power to a single coordinated strike. The viewport glowed as energy surged through the ship. aimed directly at the alien flagship. Sparks danced, alarms screamed, and for a brief moment time seemed suspended. The alien fleet faltered, frozen by disbelief and fear. Then the strike hit. A blinding flash engulfed the alien flagship. Energy erupted in waves, sending the remaining vessels scattering in disarray. Silence followed the chaos except for the hum of the human ship, steady and alive. The crew collapsed in relief, exhaustion and triumph blending into raw adrenaline. Kane's chest heaved, sweat and soot streaking his face, yet he laughed, deep and fearless. "See that?" he shouted over the hum of systems. "That is why humans are never underestimated." Mara wiped soot from her face, eyes gleaming with pride. "We didn't just survive. We dominated." Lyra leaned back, exhaling, voice soft but fierce. "They learned the hard way that humans are storms." Kane's gaze swept across the crew, pride and defiance burning in his eyes. "And storms," he said quietly. "Never surrender." Outside, the alien fleet retreated, broken, disoriented, terrified. They had learned something no calculation could predict. No algorithm could anticipate. Humans were not fragile, not predictable, and not to be underestimated. Inside the human ship, the crew allowed themselves a moment of triumph, knowing the battle was won, but also understanding the universe had only just begun to notice the wrath of humanity. And Kane, muscles coiled, mind alert, grin unbroken, already began thinking ahead. Humans didn't stop. They adapted, they endured, and above all, they never gave up. Silence filled the human ship, broken only by the soft hum of engines and the occasional hiss of venting steam. Outside, the alien fleet had retreated, battered and confused. Yet Kane knew better than to relax. Victory was never permanent. The universe didn't pause for humans, and the aliens would return, smarter, angrier, hungrier for revenge. Mara leaned against a console, knife still in hand but now idle. Her chest rose and fell in heavy breaths. We did it. I still can't believe it." Kane's grin remained, though it was tempered with calculation. "Believe it. That was the hard part. The easy part is knowing they'll be back." Lyra's fingers hovered over the communications console, eyes scanning incoming data streams. They're not just retreating. They're observing, learning, waiting for the next opportunity. We can't let them catch us off guard. Kane nodded, muscles relaxing slightly but mind racing. "Then we prepare. Humans don't just react, we anticipate, we adapt, and we'll be ready." The crew moved through the ship in quiet efficiency, patching hull breaches, rerouting power, checking weapon systems. Even in victory, there was work to do. Humans were relentless, driven not by glory but by survival, by instinct, by the refusal to be crushed by forces that thought them fragile. Mara's eyes met Kane's. "Do you ever wonder if sometimes we push too far? If all this chaos, all this risk, maybe one day it won't come back to us?" Kane considered her words for a heartbeat, then shook his head. "Risk is part of being human. If we don't push boundaries, we stagnate. We adapt because the universe demands it, and we survive because we refuse to quit. Chaos isn't a danger, it's a tool, a reminder of what we can do when cornered." Lyra spoke up, voice quieter now. "It's not just survival, is it? It's audacity. They don't understand it, but that's what terrifies them. Humans don't follow rules, they make their own. That's our edge." Kane's eyes burned with determination. "Exactly. They calculate, predict, strategize, but we improvise. We endure. And when the odds are impossible, we find a way. That's why they feared us, and why they'll fear us again." A soft chime echoed from the communications console. Lyra's eyes widened. "Incoming transmission. It's an alien. They're attempting to communicate. Not a threat this time. A warning." Kane stepped forward, muscles coiled, instincts alert. "Read it." Lyra's fingers flew over the keys, translating the alien code into words. "They're acknowledging their defeat. They call us unpredictable, unstoppable. They're warning. If we meet again, they won't hold back." The crew exchanged glances. Mara's jaw tightened. "So they'll come back, stronger, smarter, angrier." Kane nodded, chest rising and falling with deliberate calm. "Then we'll be ready. Humans don't just survive. We endure, we fight. And every time the universe thinks it can contain us, we'll remind it. Humans don't surrender." The ship's lights flickered softly as the adrenaline faded. Crew members wiped soot from their faces, muscles sore, hearts still hammering from the fight. Yet even in exhaustion there was pride, there was fire, there was unbroken spirit. Humanity wasn't just surviving. It was thriving, learning, growing stronger with each battle. Mara leaned back, knife now sheathed, eyes on the viewport where the alien fleet receded into the void. You think maybe they underestimated humans because they couldn't measure spirit? Because they didn't account for wrath? Kane's grin returned, sharp and fearless. Spirit, wrath, ingenuity, audacity. That's why humans endure, Mara. That's why they fail to predict us. That's why every time they come for us, we'll be waiting. Stronger, smarter, fiercer. They learned today, and next time, they'll learn even harder. Lyra exhaled, voice soft but firm. Humans always find a way. Even when cornered, even when chaos surrounds us, we survive. Kane turned toward the viewport, eyes glowing with resolve. Not just survive. We dominate. We adapt, we endure. And when the universe thinks it's seen everything humans can do, it hasn't even seen the beginning. The ship hummed steadily, carrying its crew through the darkness. Outside, the stars seemed sharper, more distant, as though bearing witness to the storm of human defiance that had reshaped a battle no alien had thought possible. And deep within the human hearts aboard that ship, one truth burned brighter than any star: they were unstoppable. The void stretched endlessly outside the viewport, cold and infinite, but the human ship burned with life, determination and purpose. Kane stood at the helm, muscles coiled, eyes scanning the darkness. Every fiber of his being pulsed with alertness. Yet beneath the tension lay something deeper: satisfaction, pride, and the unshakable certainty that humanity would endure. They're back, Lyra said, fingers flying across the console. Not the whole fleet, just scouts. But they're probing again. Testing. Kane smirked, voice low and confident. Then let them test. Humans aren't afraid of tests. We thrive on them. Bring it on. Mara stepped beside him, knife sheathed, eyes sharp, muscles taut. You think they learned anything last time? They learned, Kane replied, voice calm, that humans are storms, unpredictable, relentless. And when pushed, we fight with more than strength. We fight with audacity, wit, and spirit. That's why they're scared now. That's why they'll never underestimate us again. The alien scouts approached cautiously, energy beams scanning, probing for weaknesses. Kane leaned forward, muscles flexing as he assessed their movement, calculating instinctively. They think they can intimidate us, he muttered. They think fear is a weapon. But humans, we turn fear into fire. The ship lurched as the scouts fired. Energy tore through space, hitting shields, reverberating through bulkheads. Sparks danced across consoles. Alarms screamed. The crew tensed, but none faltered. Not Mara, not Lyra, not Kane. Humans thrived in chaos, adapted in the storm, and turned danger into opportunity. Return fire, Kane commanded, voice resonating with authority and audacity. Precision and improvisation. Hit them where they least expect it. Turrets swiveled. Energy beams countered alien strikes and hidden traps deployed. The scouts' formation faltered, their algorithms scrambling to predict human maneuvers. Every attack was met with ingenuity, every advance with audacity. Chaos was no longer a threat. It was a weapon. Mara's eyes burned with fierce determination. Commander, their shields are dropping. One more coordinated strike and— Exactly, Kane said, voice low, primal, and commanding. One strike, perfectly executed. Humans dominate by turning every risk into a victory. Ready the thrusters. Aim the main cannon. Phase final. The crew moved as one. Hidden thrusters fired, twisting the ship into impossible arcs. The main cannon charged, energy humming with deadly precision. Kane's grin widened as the viewport reflected the alien scouts, vulnerable, panicked, unsure. They had learned the hard way once. They would learn it again, and this time final. Fire, Kane shouted. Energy surged, a beam of controlled chaos ripping through space, striking the alien formation. The scouts exploded in a cascade of light and sound, scattering debris across the void. Silence followed, deep and profound, broken only by the hum of the human ship. The crew erupted with quiet triumph, fists punching the air, laughter and exclamations mixing with heavy breaths. Mara's grin was fierce, wild, unstoppable. We did it. We really did it. Kane's chest heaved, muscles rippling, eyes scanning the empty space where the scouts had been. We always do, he said. Humans endure. We adapt, we fight, and we always dominate. Lyra, wiping soot from her face, spoke softly. They'll be back eventually, but they'll never underestimate us again. Not now, not ever. Exactly, Kane said, voice carrying through the hum of the ship. Humans aren't fragile. We're storms. Unpredictable, relentless, fearless. The universe thinks it can contain us, predict us, crush us, and every time it fails. The stars outside reflected in Kane's eyes, infinite, distant, yet dwarfed by the fire burning within humanity. Every battle fought, every risk taken, every impossible odds faced, had shaped them into something no alien, no calculation, no weapon could suppress. Mara placed a hand on Kane's shoulder, strength and solidarity in the gesture. We survived. We dominated, and we'll survive again. Every time. Kane's grin sharpened, a promise etched into every line of his face. And the universe will remember. Humans never surrender. Humans never break. Humans always fight back, and when we fight, we are unstoppable. The ship hummed steadily through the void, carrying its crew, its fire, its wrath. Outside, the stars stretched into eternity, indifferent yet witness to the storm of human spirit that had just reshaped a battle no alien would forget. And deep within the hearts of Kane, Mara, Lyra, and every human aboard, one truth burned brighter than the farthest star. They had endured. They had triumphed. They had dominated because humans were unstoppable.